Should we get started? Since it's 4 o'clock. Alrighty, we'll do the staff confirming the Kansas Open Meeting Act notice was done.
It was.
All right, and we'll do roll call. Ann, do you want to start?
Ann Zimmerman here.
Matthew Smith.
Melanie Hedgepeth.
Larry Penkratz.
Is anybody on Zoom?
It doesn't look like it.
I believe Denny said he would be available by Zoom, but it doesn't appear that he is there yet.
Not yet. All right. Do we have any introduction of guests?
Not today.
Or is that a public forum?
Not quite yet.
Sorry about that.
I guess. All right, now we're ready for Citizens Forum. If you want to talk, Richard.
Yeah, great.
All right.
All right. Hi, all, and thank you for your services. Currently, right now, really happy to be here.
What's your name?
My name is Richard Albert Humphrey, Salina, Kansas, and I'm slowly losing the nervousness of attending these meetings and sitting up here. I'll tell you that. But I'm here right now to advocate more or less for Alfredo Marino and the Latinos community for asking or requesting a futsal installation at Sunset Park. Since he's not here right now because he's a boxing club, he had to take some individuals, some youth athletes to Manhattan. He will be up here, I believe, next month, and we're going to work on a presentation. And what I feel from them, because I don't want to speak on his behalf, and I will hand over the phone numbers like we had at the first interaction and just start from there, is I believe before requesting the whole fair engagement conversation, they just want to have the chance for a good fair exchange. And I think the way we got to watch the tennis, how the tennis thing got to unfold, is they want to really just put that narrative of just working through the whole process. Win or fail, we just want to go through that whole process so that we can understand how to utilize the system that we have installed here. And I think they may, I'm not for sure their finances are, but they have strength of unity. And I'm really excited to see them working together. But besides that, things are going really good. Outside of that scope, this weekend they have a small kayak club that's kind of being pieced together, as COVID's kind of diminishing, like legally wise, and things are opening back up officially. Cleaning up Lakewood has been pretty wild. I pulled a crock pot out the lake recently, so that was pretty good. But besides the cleaning up the waterways and just finding ways for mental health and other things, that will be coming forward here in a couple months. But
So can you explain exactly what futsal is?
futsal is it's a smaller scale of soccer.
Oh.
Is how I like to say that.
And it's spelled foot and then S-O-L?
F-U-T, I think.
F-U-T-S-A-L, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And actually, Sir Jeff here actually knows a lot more about it than I do, so he'll be able to help out. I think he might be skilled there. I don't know, but yeah, it's been really good to just really have a chance to work with them and with everyone here. I'm really excited to move forward. So,
Okay.
Cool. Besides that, again, thank you guys and have a good rest of your day.
All right, thanks.
Cool.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Any changes, or are we ready to motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
I will second that.
Anything? Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Looks like Bruce is getting here.
Bruce is getting connected.
Oh, there's Bruce.
All right, Bruce is here.
Can you hear us, Bruce?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Well, we can hear you.
okay. Next one on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Any changes needed or discussion on the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, Jane? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, activity reports.
As I try to normally do, to go through some highlights and going through, I did not pre-highlight anything, so I'm just gonna give it my best shot. Country Club Park was something that we've had for some time to install that additional swing set at Country Club and also address the rubber mulch at that park. We just, and a side note, I think I reported previously about a grant that we received for rubber mulch, and we just got our first check for that grant for the purchase of rubber mulch for the 4 additional playgrounds that we need to put rubber mulch on. And we are getting that purchase order together so we can order that mulch. Spring Spruce Up was held in April, and we had some projects in our parks. Arbor Day event, Tree Advisory Board had an Arbor Day event at Berkeley Family Recreational Area where we taught a group of interested people, how to plant a tree, how to properly plant a tree. Bill Burke was a large project for our landscaping crew to try to get that squared away. We had the ending of the turf infield project. We had a lot of irrigation repairs and replacements to make, and our landscaping team, as you can see, performed 90 different repairs to that area at Bill Burke to get that irrigation somewhat back to normal standing. That project will be kind of wrapping up this week where we install sod. We have a contractor installing sod to kind of marry the synthetic turf infield to the existing outfield, so that sod will be installed this week, weather pending. It's supposed to rain. And this is also a busy time of year for our landscaping crew to be preparing for summer. As you can see in the areas about spraying weeds and adding herbs and flowers, mulching beds, pruning back shrubs. It's a busy time of year for our landscaping crew, so I really gave them, I really want to publicly give them a lot of kudos, because this was not the right time to do all these irrigation repairs at Bill Burke. So,
Where is the herb garden?
I'll let Dennis answer that.
If you know where our shop is, if you go directly back to I'd say the west.
So this is Oakdale.
Yeah, it's in Oakdale, so it's just right behind the shop there. So,
Thanks.
Let's see. Earth Day celebration at Lakewood Park. Let's see. We have Salina Public Library programming that we've had 3 programs. I think we might have had a 4th, or we're about to have a 4th.
What kind of programs?
Good question. I don't recall the names.
Sorry.
I know the one is a 3D art class. The idea of the classes were to partner with the library to allow for classes that were at no cost to a population or a part of our community that would be considered special populations or a therapeutic recreation sense. So it was aged for 16 and up. And there was some mild coding. There was a coding skills class. There was a 3D pen art class where the Parks and Recreation provided the supplies. The library provided the staff and the space. We did the registration for that and provided the information of the roster too. So it was a very good partnership, and it's something we want to continue in the fall.
Thank you.
And we are planning right now, I believe, for those fall events right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. My apologies.
Oh, I had a question.
Yep.
On the municipal golf course, it talks about the VFD. What is a VFD?
A VFD is a variable frequency drive, and it's a motor, basically, that is electrically controlled to modulate power. And so in the effort of saving money, so it doesn't have to run at one frequency or one speed, it can modulate how fast it runs or how much output it has based on the needs. And in this case, it's for the need of irrigation. So it can modulate that pump or motor to push less water when needed or more water when it's required. And unfortunately, it did get damaged. It broke. We had to get that replaced because it's a very important part of our irrigation system at the golf course. VFD drives are somewhat common in water parks, also in HVAC units where they can modulate the power, so they're not always taking electricity, so they can modulate that demand and that power, so it can save a little money. Let Travis, if Travis wants to speak
Before
about
Travis gets on, I noticed a lot of the parks are getting more signs. Is that kind of a program you have to finish signing everything, or? Country Club has a sign now.
Oh,
and, yeah.
yes, it was replacing, so there was two parts to that. The park signs, we wanted to replace all the older wood signs to modern signs. Over the course of time, some of those wood signs have been removed and not replaced. Country Club was an example of that, where we wanted to make sure there was a sign put back that properly names the park and make sure people know it's a destination to go to in the city of Salina. So that's finished. There is one sign that we have not put up, and that's at Founders Park, which is behind the Salina Community Theater, or Theater Salina. Theater Salina has a proposed construction project that could happen, and we want to get a better idea of how they're what kind of footprint they want to take for their construction project, and then we can put that sign in an appropriate location at another time.
I noticed Great Plains signs up at Lakewood now. Looks
Correct.
nice. Yep.
That was again, that was part of that sponsorship with Great Plains. We have a grand opening event, ribbon cutting event, June 2nd at 10 a.m. I would like to invite the Parks and Rec Advisory Board to that event. It's with Great Plains. It's already open to the public, of course, but we want to have a more ribbon cutting, photo opportunity event. Various city staff will be going. Maybe some of our commissioners and our city manager's office will be attending that event. So that's at 10 a.m. on June 2nd, Friday. But yes, we're trying to communicate to the public better, I think. We put up some additional signage at the tennis courts at Oakdale to let people know that the courts are over at Kenwood Park, and we put some new signage up at tennis. Matter of fact, one of my items under new business was to talk about tennis a little bit, and I'll save that for then. But yeah, go ahead, Travis.
Just a few things. With a lot of the focus is outdoors, so the Salina Fieldhouse has kind of slowed down a little bit, catching a little bit of a breather, which is nice. But adult volleyball just seems to be strong. I told Gwen she's nuts because she has 33 teams going, and it just seems like I go there and watch them, and it's just a great program. So that's a lot of teams. That's the most we've seen in a while. And then moving outdoors, as Jeff mentioned, we're kind of the focus has been on Bill Burke. We're trying to work around construction and with the turf and the sod irrigation and that type of thing. We've kind of opened up some fields, and then we did open up tournaments. Kept track of some numbers. There was 163 teams that played tournaments here in Salina just in the month of April. So that's a good number. We do Fire Up League Monday, so ready or not, here we come. And so all those fields will be playable. We do still have some fencing, dugout, backstop work to do. Kind of looks like after season we'll come in and do that, but our goal is just to get them playable, and we gradually have accomplished that. The other item I wanted to note was soccer. Dave had 19 teams in recreation soccer. I think when I handed the baton to him, we had 3. So kudos to him, doing a great job there, getting our recreation soccer league back to where it should be. And then I was going to mention the therapeutic rec class. I went and sat on one. They moved it to Mackenzie yesterday, so I walked across the street, and then it's great to see that class being offered again, and kudos to the library and that partnership to get those classes going for that population.
I was going to ask, do you know about futsal? Is that an indoor or is that an outdoor thing?
I was going to chime in a little bit. Okay, so I learned this when we built the field house, what futsal is. It's spelled F-U-T-S-A-L, by the way. And all it is soccer on the hard court or a hard surface. You don't have walls to stop the ball. The ball is a little more weighted, so if you kick it and it'll bounce, it'll stay down more instead of bounce up. And very, very fast game. You got to have good foot skills to keep the ball in play. It's just a variation of the game. You can play it indoors. You can play it outdoors. We do have kind of a court up by Matson that it's just a little field of futsal. Right now there are some goals up there available outdoors. That's the only one that I'm aware of. Outdoors.
Yeah.
We have a league indoors in the field house. That league has been anywhere from 30-some teams for youth and adult. So it is a form of soccer that's pretty popular. They come off of just outdoor season on the grass, and then they've played on that all spring, summer, fall long, and then we do a futsal season that's just a variation that catches them. It's just a different form of soccer. You can play indoor soccer, and that has walls. Futsal does not. So indoor soccer and futsal are two different sports. The indoor soccer has walls, the ball stays in play. Futsal does not have any barriers, so you have to keep the ball controlled. Does that explain the game to you?
Yeah, that helps. I guess you don't head it much if it's a weighted ball.
You can.
Really?
It might hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just a different. Yeah, you can. It's just like outdoor soccer, but most of it's played indoors. You have to control it because there's no wall. But the outdoor version is still there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. New business.
There was the last page of your packet is a flyer that we created, our department created, to make sure the public was aware, so we can do a press release or a social media presence, a social media type of press release for the fact that we did reach with an agreement with Salina Tennis Facility, Salina Tennis Alliance, to open up the facility more to public access without the need to get a code ahead of time, without the need to make a reservation. Part of that was mounting a sign next to the gate that gives you the code. So the code is publicly available to enter into the facility. Secondly, we did make a concerted effort, at least initially, for really probably for the summer, to prop open the gates every morning so people driving by would know, hey, it's open. We wanted to go above and beyond that to make sure the public was aware that, yes, this is a equal access, it's equitable to all, and whether you have a phone or not, whether you can get online or not, whether you have the technology to get a reservation, Now you don't need one. You don't need to have a reservation. You just simply get yourself over to the facility, whether you're riding a bike or a car, and enter. So
So are you eliminating reservations, period?
currently, I believe with Salina Tennis Alliance, which has always handled the reservations, I believe they have them on hold.
Okay.
If you go to their website, I believe they show the reservation spots, but I'm not sure if you can make a reservation right now. I have not seen it updated, but the last time I checked, they did. You couldn't make a reservation. The idea, in my opinion, is they still can take a reservation. Let's say it's a beautiful day. There's tons of people that want to play tennis, and you want to reserve your spot because you don't want to compete with people that are publicly using it that for drop-in use or first come first serve use. That should be still an option, but I don't know what the status of that is on their behalf to make that reservation.
It'd be, yeah.
Parks and Recreation is not doing reservations.
Someone just pops in and then someone has a reservation. I figured it'd be a problem. You know, we're on the court first, but I have a reservation.
Right. Salina Tennis Alliance was encouraged to put up a sign or a bulletin board, if you will. They have the option to do that and to publicly say, this is what's on today's schedule, or put a QR code so someone can use their phone and see who does have a reservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there closed hours, like you lock it up at dark or something?
The hours of operation of the park, the curfew of the park is from midnight to 5 a.m. So you can get in with the code from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. We don't prop the gate open till approximately 7:30 on a daily basis, 7 days a week. And then we typically around 10:30 p.m. or so, we close that gate up. But the code is still active until 11 p.m. And that's also regarding the lights. The lights are also can be activated by a push button from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
All right.
Sorry.
Moving on to old business. Go right ahead. What?
Well, I wanted to bring up something on the new business.
Okay.
I kind of spoke with you about. I was approached by a friend of mine about Barkley Dog Park, and about do you know which one you will be shutting down or for the turf healing?
I haven't yet had that conversation with Dennis. I don't know what he thinks. Which one should we start with? I would say the one, I'm going to speculate, the one that's closest to the north. But
Yeah, with not going up there, I mean, I've been up there, and the north one would be the easiest to start with. It seems less used, but at least we could start there and move south.
I know I went up there yesterday to see what he was talking about, and that middle one is pretty bad. There is you can see where the rain has pushed the mulch outwards. And he actually, like I was showing Melanie, he brought me today I can show you a bag with some of the stuff they're finding in that middle one that's used. He said used the most, and there's like glass and all types of other stuff in there. So I didn't know are you just going to let the grass grow, or what is the plan?
We plan on, once we get it closed, go back in and overseed, and then it's pretty much Bermuda. So eventually, hopefully, it'll take back over. But we plan on hopefully giving the grass time to make a stand and do a lot of other repairs while it's closed to the facility.
Okay.
I think what Dennis shared with me was refurbishing benches. Was one thing we wanted to do. We have a concrete pad that we'd like to add for a potential bench inside the facility. I imagine along with overseeding, we're going to fertilize, so I think we to have a standing chance for that turf long term, I think we need to make the effort. So what you're telling Dennis and I is that the pod number 2 is worse condition than the other two.
Yes.
And that's definitely what we can start with. I mean, it really doesn't matter which one we close first. We could start with the worst. And
Well, when I went up there and I talked to a couple people, and they were complaining about the wood being jagged, and it went through a person's shoe at one point in time, and also it's injuring the dogs because it's very jagged.
You're talking about the mulch
Yeah,
that's on the
mulch.
ground? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It would give us also an opportunity to remove that because we want, having mulch on the ground would probably prevent grass from growing.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would, yeah. And ideally, you would enter, in my opinion, I think this is how it was designed, was the concrete is there, then grass would immediately start. We've added the mulch just as a stopgap effort
Yes.
to try to prevent mud and paws, and so, yeah.
I was just kind of curious about it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, now moving on to old business.
Sure. Mr. Humphreys was here talking about futsal at Sunset Park. We've not made any commitments. We don't have a funding source, so we don't have a project yet for Sunset Park. But there are conversations being had about what to do with those two areas at Sunset Park, one being the former tennis court and one being the horseshoe pit. There's opportunities for improvements and for recreational improvements. My desire for one of those is a multi-use or multi-sport court. And one of those could be used as futsal, could be used for tennis, could be used for pickleball. We can be lined with all those opportunities to do that. And that's what I'm looking at as far as what I would like to see. And so I've talked to Mr. Humphreys prior about it, and we have met with him briefly about that. And and then most of the public or most of the neighborhood want some type of court surface back at Sunset. So a couple things I want to bring you up to speed on, some older business. We talked about pickleball before. We do have a pickleball request for proposals out for a new pickleball court overlay on the south tennis courts at Oakdale Park. That's due June 1st, and we'll have those bids back then and be able to move forward with that, hopefully. Just for the advisory board's knowledge, when we do have a pickleball improvement project or pickleball construction project at Oakdale, we would have to shut down the opportunity for pickleball at Oakdale. So, because they hopefully the timing is such, maybe it's fall, maybe they can migrate over the field house, but then those courts would not be available for public pickleball play during construction. Concrete improvements, phase 1. We're finishing up phase 1 of our concrete improvements, mostly sidewalks and flat concrete work. You'll see some added parking opportunities at Phillips Park, Steve Hawley Park, Sunset Park. There was a significant amount of improvements made for parking, and we are moving on to phase 2. We had some bids come back for phase 2, and we're looking at doing those. Phase 2 is mostly Jerry Ivey Park and a few additional neighborhood parks. Jerry Ivey Memorial Park projects, we are moving forward with a pond demolition. We will be filling in the pond with the opportunity of looking to a different area within Jerry Ivey Park to put a fountain. It does not have commission approval yet for that project. That'll be in front of the City Commission in the next few weeks, but we did get bids back for it. Plus some of those concrete improvements are going to be happening at Jerry Ivey Park as well. And what I'm really trying to say is there's going to be a lot of construction activity at Jerry Ivey Park, and we're having conversations now about what areas of the park do we need to close off to the public, because it's going to be a lot of dirt work, a lot of trucks moving in and out, and it's going to be somewhat significant this late summer, fall, is what I'm going to guess.
So where are you planning to put the fountain?
We've talked about a few locations. So this morning, for example, the police memorial event was at Jerry Ivey Park, and most of the public that was there were on the west side, facing the pond. So then there's the podium they have set up there. They have the memorial behind that. They have three nice vertical or columnar junipers. And then I imagine a fountain kind of behind that area. There is quite a bit of area behind that, in between the pond and that western location. That's one area we've discussed where a fountain could be. It'd be adjacent to the shelter house that's there as well. And I think it'd be a very pretty location. The other areas are kind of wrapping around that south edge of the pond and going towards the gazebo. Because the gazebo that's existing is staying, and we need to incorporate that gazebo into our future plans, which are still in progress, by the way. We haven't. We need to work on that and have something before we move forward. Lastly, as I've already mentioned, Bill Burke Turf is wrapping up, and that's just for the turf project. We have that sod going in, weather pending. And that'll kind of wrap up that project. And then we still have more improvements to do at Bill Burke Park. We have fencing is the next one that's going to go in, where the sideline fencing and the gates will be going in, and that's pretty exciting. So that'll be happening hopefully in the next few months. Last thing I do have, just so you're aware, just so the Parks and Rec Advisory Board's aware, we've engaged with a designer. We have a potential donation of a landscaping bed at Oakdale Park. 20 plus years ago, there was a kind of a conceptual drawing of what Oakdale Park could look like as far as landscaping is concerned. Over the course of the 20 years, we have made several of those improvements. There are some that are still an opportunity for landscaping improvement. Based on the willingness for someone to donate funds for an additional landscaping bed, we have engaged with that original designer to put together a plan with some estimated costs of what it would take to do this. And I want to make sure you're aware, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board's aware that once we have those plans, we would like to bring those before the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for your review and comment. But that's we're a little bit far out from there. We're a few months away from that, but it's been a recent development that I wanted to share. And that's all I really had, I think.
So when you say landscape, can you be more specific?
So for example, you asked Dennis about the herb garden. The herb garden was an area of Oakdale Park that was put in some time ago. There's also a butterfly garden at Oakdale Park. There were other types of gardens that might have been put in. I think there was a rose garden at one time. But this is what they were looking at as a sensory garden, where it would involve your senses. That's one aspect of this design that was provided 20 years ago that we would like to flesh out a little more. The donor has expressed an interest in that sensory garden and possibly funding a project like that for a sensory garden. There's probably different elements of height and texture. There's probably some type of features, whether it be an arbor or a gazebo or a center, like a gazebo is what I was trying to go for. But really, we're open to potential improvements. Usually involve some sidewalks, so some hardscape, if you will. And of course, it comes with the opportunity for a landscape area where different types of plants can go in. And in this case, it would be plants that you can touch, taste, smell, and that's why it's called a sensory garden.
Thank you.
I mean, I might not have answered that very well. There's
did.
probably
You did a good job.
people in the room that are smarter than me that can answer that better, but I tried.
All right, general announcements. Any?
I have none.
All right. Anything else before we move on?
I guess I'm curious, who's participating in the ribbon cutting? Is it like Chamber of Commerce? They do a lot of ribbon cuttings I'm talking about the one at Great
Sure.
Plains.
Well, the desire for a ribbon cutting came from Great Plains. Great Plains has wants some retired staff and some current staff available to to enjoy the time, and to also I would like to recognize their contribution. It'll be myself. I've invited a handful of staff that were my staff that were involved in making it happen. I've invited the city manager's office, and I believe he's possibly making an attempt to invite the commissioners to that if they wish to come. And really, it's probably inviting the public as well. So we want kids there. We want kids to come enjoy it, and kind of make a ribbon and have them behind the ribbon and cut it, and they run in and then play in the playground. I think it'd be a great visual opportunity, and it's a nice picture opportunity, and that's what I'm hoping for and planning too.
It's getting a lot of use.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Actually, so much is that we hope to not hit people while we're playing disc golf. So, especially on that hole on the south
Right.
side. Yep.
As one of our as one of our staff members have said before to me, with playgrounds, if you build it, they will come. As in, you build a new playground.
Yeah, this one's coming.
It might be an old playground, a tired one, not very well used. You put a new one in, doesn't matter the location, it's going to get used heavily.
All right, anything else? All right, motion to adjourn, anyone?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
All right.